ahead. But I listened to that entire soundbite of Mr. Kharge. While the language he used, especially the terms that he used, are unparliamentary in nature, there is a repeated demand from the opposition to have a discussion on the floor of the House. Why has that not happened?
Well, the discussion started and the Defence Minister gave a statement. And it's not the first time that on security matters, ministers give statement. 2013, 2008, 2006, I can send you details of the parliament proceedings.
Sure.
The statements were issued and then no discussion happened. I remember Mr. Manmohan Singh on 28/4/2013, 20th of April 2014, said, देश की सीमाओं में 19 किलोमीटर, sorry, he said, exact word is, प्रधानमंत्री ने कहा चीन के हाल में घुसपैठ बनी स्थिति पर भारत को तूल नहीं देना चाहिए. This is in the parliament, man said. So this has been a precedent. It's not nothing new which is happening, that on matter of security, this statement is issued and later on matter go to PSC and where things are discussed. But what are they asking? They are asking about where all the forces are deployed. Where are the breaches in the security apparatus? This is being asked. Manish Tiwari ji is on record asking where are the forces deployed, where it lacked. You can't answer these questions in the parliament or in public domain. And then there is no breach. I mean, had there been breach, then how could our forces were given them rebuttal, proper rebuttal? Give me another second. And especially the new law which is there in the political discourse, the language which is being used. And let me put it very bluntly today. This chest thumping that हमारे नेताओं ने शहादत दी. What shahadat are you talking about? I'm saying it today on record. Mrs. Gandhi did what she did. It was her chess game which she got caught into it. And then later on she has to give her life, which we are also very sad.
Mr. Singh, I take the points.
No. It's important.
Mr. Singh, with due respect, I take the points that you have made, especially when it comes to, the national security details and the strategic details which the government of the day cannot share openly. This is a national security matter at the end of the day. And there is only as much information that can be put out in the public domain. Point well made. Before I go to the Congress party and ask them questions about the laws and political discourse that we're talking about, is there another way to take opposition into confidence? And I ask this question to you because you're the elected government of the day. And in Indian democracy, there has been a thriving tradition and convention that on key issues of national importance, often the opposition parties are taken into confidence, they are briefed about the issue. Mr. Singh.
Well, this is not the first time it has happened. Yes, I answer. This is not the first time it has happened.
Yeah.
This has happened more than 1,000 times in last few years. I mean, this sort of infringement has not happened for the first time. And then they don't believe on anyone. When the army chief Narendra ji said that not an inch of land has been taken by China, that time they didn't believe the army chief. So they don't believe in army also. So that's why the defense minister issued a statement, the foreign minister issued a statement in the parliament.
Okay.
And even then you say, हमारे जवान पिटे हैं. Give me a second. हमारे जवान पिटे हैं. Well, probably he's talking about the PLA jawan, because for him jawans are PLA jawan, not the Indian army. Because
I take strong
he is being
exception
fed
to
by
that statement.
PLA,
Mitaji, I'll give you the
China.
opportunity. Yeah. Mr. Singh, you've made your point.
Mitaji,
I'll give you uninterrupted time to make all your points and rebut all the points that the BJP has made. Before that, I want you to address this question because that's how I opened the debate. You took few seconds to join us on the show. That when it comes to political discourse around national security, is there more restraint that we should exercise? And that's a question to all political parties, including the Congress party. But in the last 2 days, we have seen these two statements. Hamare jawan Arunachal mein pit rahe hain. That was a statement that came from Rahul Gandhi. BJP, took an exception to that statement. Today, the statement of Mr. Kharge is something that the BJP is saying is very unparliamentary and inappropriate.
Okay, firstly, we salute the valor of Indian Army and the sacrifices that Indian Army makes to keep our borders secured. And in this hour of crisis, we stand with our army, we stand with the entire nation, including the government of India. But as the principal opposition party, we are well within our rights to ask certain legitimate queries and to raise our concerns, both inside the parliament as well as outside the parliament. That's number one.
Okay.
Number two, we are talking about insults and about language. I have heard the entire speech of Kharge ji. Kharge ji was trying to refer to the fact that we have lost our former prime ministers and leaders of the Congress party Indira Gandhi ji and Rajiv Gandhi ji, the way they were assassinated, we have, as an organization, we have fought for the independence of this nation. We have made supreme sacrifices for this nation. So when we raise a concern, it is a concern for national security and for our territorial integrity. It should be taken in that spirit. So just picking up a mere word from a political rally which was made outside the parliament and raising a ruckus inside the parliament is completely unfortunate. Number 3, if we are done with this tutu meme, can we really focus on the real issues? Our queries are very simple. The Ministry of External Affairs has clearly stated that Chinese troops are trying over and over again to transgress and to come into our territories, to occupy Indian posts. And the status quo is, they're unilaterally trying to disturb the status quo. So my first query is, have we been able to restore the pre-2020 status quo along the line of actual control with China? My first query. My second query, is it not a fact that the Chinese troops are within 18 kilometers deep in Dim Sum for the last 2 years? Is there 1,000 square kilometers of territory in eastern Ladakh, which was earlier patrolled by the Indian troops, which is no longer being patrolled? Are we creating, my fourth query, are we creating new buffer zones along the line of actual control? What is a buffer zone? A buffer zone is a zone where none of the troops, neither Chinese nor Indian troops, are being allowed to patrol. That means there were areas that we were patrolling earlier and we are no longer patrolling. Are the Chinese troops building permanent winter home shelters for their soldiers along this disputed area?
I gave you uninterrupted time to make your point. Mitaji.
Give me 10 more seconds because these points are very important. These points are very, very important.
Make your point.
When we are asking these very legitimate queries, and we're asking for a discussion either in the parliament or the government of the day can say that, no, we cannot discuss this in the parliament. We are willing to have a closed door meeting. All we are saying is take us into confidence. Take us into confidence.
Mitaji, I have 2 points that I want to follow up with you. One is that there's a quote from Mr. Kharge's statement, and I heard that entire speech that he made at the Bharat Jodo Yatra. और उन्होंने कहा कि बाहर तो शेर की तरह जैसे बातें करते हैं, लेकिन उनका चलना जो है वो चूहे के जैसा है. I take your argument that is this nitpicking on a statement and blowing it out of context. I'll raise that question to the BJP. The second point, are the details that you're seeking in the public domain not strategic details? The Congress party has much experience on its hands when it comes to running matters, when it comes to running of government. You're far more older as a political party and you have much more experience. Do you think that when India is involved in an intricate process of disengagement, can the government really come on the floor of the house and make statements like this?
Can I answer that?
Of course. Please go ahead.
I am not asking for military strategy. So in a situation like this, there are 4 or 5 ways of going ahead, right? Diplomatic ties, then we have military engagements, then building international pressure, and then economic sanctions or building economic pressure on China. Now, we have seen in 21-22, we have done record high trade with China, about 115 billion US dollars, with a trade deficit of around 75 billion US dollars in Chinese favor. So banning just a few Chinese applications, software Chinese application, is clearly not serving our purpose. That's number 1. That's about the economic sanction. Number 2, we are well within our rights that what are you doing? If you do not want to discuss the diplomatic strategy in public domain, call for a closed door meeting.
I want to take those points, and I have to bring in other guests also into the discussion. Mitaji, just one point that, if you look at the trade of history between India and China, and even during the peak of the Indo-China war, if you're a student of history, you would know that even during the most turbulent of the times, the trade between India and China remained intact. And this is a history of over 200 years. So this is not something which is peculiar to this government. But I do take the points that